Welcome back. We're talking about the impact of the upcoming impeachment trial of Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff. And let's go back to our panel. Maria, let me go back to you. Is there a sense in Brazil, or is there any part of the Brazilian political constituency that feels that the electoral process is being undermined here, that these are political rivals out to get the president, unseat her, when that job should actually be up to the electorate, should be during an election, during a vote?
Of course, she received over 54 million votes. So this is very serious, and this is how you build fascism in society. Your guest said that this is a done deal. She hasn't even presented her defense yet. That's the problem. The senators and the Congress members voted. They already made an opinion even before the legal process was finished. So the vote in the lower house was a horror show. The members of Congress voted in the name of God, in the name of their families. They praised a military commander who tortured President Dilma Rousseff during the military dictatorship. And then you say that we cannot see this from a legal perspective when the public prosecutor in Brazil already cleared her of all charges. So if you don't agree with her economic policy, if you want to cut investments, apply austerity measures, which, by the way, are not working in Europe, did not work here in the United States. The Obama administration did the opposite, invested more in the economy so we can grow again. So this is not, none of this is a legitimate reason for the impeachment. You know, you don't agree with the president. You like the conservative parties. You want to defend corrupt politicians. So say it clearly, but don't pretend that you are defending democracy, because this is not a democracy.
Right, so Joel, here we have widely divergent political opinions on this process taking place in Brazil right now. But what about the argument that this is undermining an election?
Well, first, the impeachment process is codified in the Brazilian Constitution. And I agree that this is not a parliamentary democracy in Brazil. It's a presidential system. And a presidential system has a certain way to remove somebody from office. And during the term of that person, and by the way, in the case of Brazil, you can only impeach the person for the things you have done during that term. So everything she did in her first 4 years can't be brought into this. This was a whole nother legal complication that would have made her the case against her much stronger, the point is. But what we have here this is a clearly presidential system, a clear system to remove a president from office through impeachment. This is not undermining democracy, because this is exactly what democracy called. When the 54 million people in Brazil voted for her, they voted with her with full knowledge that if she committed any crimes, she could be removed from office. Right. And this is what's happening.
Okay, Paulo?
The 54 million people who voted for her voted also for Michel Temer, who was her running mate in the first and the second election she ran.
I'm not sure he would have gotten the 54.
I'm sorry.
There is, I'm sorry, no, but they vote, this is a ticket. So constitutionally, it applies now, the 54 million votes, transferred in a sense, although he is very unpopular, he has an enormous job of precisely gaining some measure of credibility and popularity to be able to stabilize the situation and govern. This is the issue, this is the crisis, we can talk about the legality of this all you want. This is not a legal process, this is a political process.
May I interject? It's not entirely wrong, but I don't think the Brazilian people even know Michel Temer. They would not have voted for him. Most of them don't even know his name right now. Most of the people that were in favor of the impeachment, they did not want him to replace her. So this is not black and white as it might look. This is a very complicated process. We don't have the polls, they vary a lot right now, so we're not sure of the numbers, but it seems like the majority of the voters still want early elections to happen. They did not want a simple replacement of Dilma by Michel Temer. And it's still, I think this is even after he's confirmed, this is kind of an interim period for Brazil. Everybody's kind of gearing up for the next elections in 2018. So Paulo, I think you're putting a little too much faith in Michel Temer's power to ingrace himself himself with the Brazilians. I think this is just.
But I think Temer is conscious of his position. He knows he is weakened. He's made it clear he will not run for president in 2018.
There are
So,
doubts about that still.
you know, but I think he knows how to read the cards. But let's just be clear. The fundamental here is
He's accused of corruption. He can't run because he's charged with corruption.
Who charged him? What is the charge against him? By whom?
He cannot. He cannot run for any elections for 8 years.
On what
already.
basis?
On what basis? What
judge
is the
has
fact?
ordered?
No, there is
Because
a case against him. But
Yeah,
Where?
he received illegal contribution.
No, you have to bring a
campaign
case.
contribution.
You have to bring a case.
No,
There is a case
it's-
for obstruction of
it's
justice
already
against
decided.
President Dilma Rousseff right now, for instance. You have to bring a
no.
case.
But
I'm sorry, but that was already decided. You have to get your information right. You don't have the right information.
Okay.
I think
go
you
ahead.
don't have the
Go ahead,
right
Joe.
information on that.
Let's all agree here that one issue is what is the future of Brazil and how is Brazil democracy going to continue to be strengthened? I disagree with Andrea that this is necessarily a problem of Brazilian democracy. The process of democracy and process of representative democracy is you've got to keep working at it, and it's going to take days and weeks and months and years of trouble and learning from the mistakes. Clearly, the impeachment process in Brazil needs some reforms. Clearly,
Well,
the
the interim president Michel Temer is accused of receiving 11 million reais in bribes, and the current interim Foreign Minister José Serra is accused of receiving $23 million
I think we don't have enough time to go through all the accusations of Brazilian politicians.
Exactly. What I'm saying is that now people in power in Brazil, the interim government is accused of serious corruption charges. So I think we're going to have a situation of more corruption and more economic crisis.
Right, Andrea, let me ask you this. The president has already said that one of the biggest mistakes she made was selecting Michel Temer to be her running mate. How did she miscalculate so badly?
They needed that support in Congress. Clearly, she miscalculated not only by choosing Michel Temer, but also in her relationships with the larger Congress, because she became very isolated early on, and this is one of the reasons why she's facing an impeachment process right now. Indeed, I don't think she imagined that it would come to this, that Michel Temer would replace her and be organizing behind the scenes to make this impeachment possible. But the reason for all of this is that the Brazilian system, in my opinion, is very fragile. We have a huge fragmentation of parties, so the coalitions are what makes the government stay in power or not. And she clearly could not maintain a coalition that was workable in the longer term.
Paulo, does this strengthen Brazilian democracy?
Well, it depends on what happens from now on. What has to happen for Temer to govern, for us to go to the 2018 election, is that the economy in Brazil goes back to economic growth, and that growth is distributed. The result of prosperity is shared. Without that, there will be no leader in Brazil that will be able to stay in power with support and doing the very difficult things that they have to do to correct the structural problems we have. Pension systems, labor laws, and things that are all good, but need to be done in ways that are sustainable, that can pay, that can be done on the longer term. And we have a crisis here, and this crisis will take a long time to solve.
Maria, how soon we forget that there was a country that just staged one of the most successful Olympics, and now we're talking about this. Is there any chance that Dilma Rousseff will survive this?
Well, I think that her history shows that she's not accused of any crimes, and the politicians in power now are accused of serious corruption crimes, serious corruption cases, and I think her problem was because she gave more autonomy to the federal police in order to investigate corruption. So the main problem is that these corrupt politicians want to get rid of her, because they are now under investigation of corruption. So, and by cutting social programs, undermining labor laws, cutting pensions. This is not going to improve the economy. It's going to be the opposite.
Okay.
Workers and poor people are going to suffer even more.
Okay, last word, Joel. I got 10 seconds.
Listen, democracy is a long time exercise. We're working through it, and I think she has made a good contribution, and her impeachment and her removal from office will be another good contribution for Brazil.
All right, and that's where we have to leave it. Thanks to all of you for joining us.